time to come up with a new opening slogan. What is going on, everybody? This is the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and less. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
So we're not going to harp on it a whole lot, but this is, in fact, the 200th episode of this podcast.
We're not going to not harp on it, to be fair.
No, I mean, it's a round number, and round numbers should be acknowledged, and this is no exception.
Yep. Noted. Number 200.
So, yeah, let's crack something. My already open can of Killcliff.
There you go.
Which I'm running out of. How's your week been going?
Good. You know, I did the one monthly trivia in Greensboro and the one weekly in Lexington. We had some people at this one. So that was a step up.
Well, now we know.
Now we know.
It was in fact Naked Beer Night.
It must have been. It must have been Naked Beer Night. And it wasn't actually, to be fair, this one wasn't massive, but who knows? The weather's nice for the first time. The bartender and I were saying, like, if we weren't working, we'd be in the backyard barbecuing. Like, we wouldn't be out at a bar. It's a gorgeous night for that. So I get it. And then here's a thing. So I'm playing on Saturday at a brand new place that has just opened here in town. They opened last week. And I know the owner. He was the first guy who booked me when he was the manager of the Bull City place, right? And so that'll be fun. A little 3-hour acoustic thing in that new patio. And a friend of mine who now lives in Asheville, North Carolina, which is a fun little town in the mountains of North Carolina. He just moved there, but when I knew him was when we were in high school in Salt Lake City, Utah, when we founded our first band together. And so he'll be coming up just to hang for the day and come to my gig and spend the night on the air mattress in my office here, and then head back. So
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him. So
good.
Yeah, that's what I'm up to. Band continues to be. Well, here's the other thing that happened last. Starting to get marketing materials together for the new project, and I have a one sheet pretty much built that I'm more or less happy with. And then we recorded on multi-track out of the Soundcraft mixer our whole rehearsal last time, and I built some good little clips, and they sound pretty good. They sound pretty darn good.
Nice.
I was happy with what I was able to produce. It was my first real multi-track. So I mix down the podcast every week in Logic Pro, but I've never done like a full band mix down. I bought Logic Pro since I was last doing that. So before that I was using Reaper.
Right.
And so I've now learned about automation tracks and just all the good stuff that's there in Logic Pro. It's very cool. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, big learning week. It's been great.
Fantastic.
About you?
So let's see. We've got this gig on Saturday, and a couple of moving parts there. It's a 4-piece. Amber's not going to be on that one. It was signed as a 4-piece initially because the pay was lower than we normally get, and it was initially supposed to be a live band karaoke gig, and that has kind of slowly morphed into it being a mostly band gig with a karaoke component that may or may not be executed. In the third and final set, a lot of back and forth with this client. And I think we had talked about it previously that I think the party kind of got away from him, and he's trying to make sure that like he's got all of these things kind of hammered out. And it's really hard in communicating with clients that their need to be ultimately in control of the flow of the evening is actually going to make their evening less enjoyable.
Right.
So we hadn't quite gotten that far. We finally got everything more or less sorted. In the midst of doing that, our MD got like horrifically sick. One of those like stomach bugs that made his way through their house. And so everybody is being very digestive. And then also our eldest was homesick for most of the week with like a sore throat. Multiple COVID tests, a strep test. It was just like whatever it was. And I was a person kind of running point because I'm working out of the house. And
right.
I woke up this morning with a sore throat. And if I'm doing the coughing math, I'm going to be like hitting the peak of this thing, like literally on gig day. So
Yeah.
not really looking forward to that prospect, but I will say, in prepping for this, I sat down on a FaceTime call with our other guitar player and like just picked up a guitar and played for like an hour, and like, holy hell, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to remember that playing guitar for not work is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And sometimes you pick up a guitar and it like works, and you're like, hey, I'm pretty okay at this.
Yeah, you know, that's happened a lot of times in my guitar career where there's some song where I'm like, oh, there's no way that.
Yeah,
I could never. That's incredible. I couldn't do that. And then when I try it, I'm like, oh, I can do that. I'm actually having that experience right now. My bassist, who is formally trained, just got a degree in bass performance, like kind of a badass. At our last rehearsal, she started thumping out Sir Duke. And I was like,
nice.
God, I really want to do that one. I've always been intimidated by that solo section, that 2D solo section in the middle of it. So this week I've been learning it, and I now know it. And
yeah, that is one of those that I would like. I need to be able to play that.
Yeah,
I need to pull the bass off the wall and like just be able to do that.
Yeah.
Really
well, it turns out it's all mostly in a box. It doesn't move around all that much actually, and it's just a matter of kind of knowing the phrases and knowing how they fall, and then working it with the band enough to have it be in unison. I'm gonna want bass guitar and fiddle to do it in unison because I don't have horns. Anyway, it's not impossible. It's just actually practice. That's all it takes.
Who would sing that?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's up our.
I mean, I can get that far up. I can't do Hubba Dee But It Ain't Called Love, but I can get pretty far up. Pretty far.
Because I mean, that feels high to me.
Does it?
Again, that's just one of those. Well, it's just one of those weird. It's a placement thing.
Yeah.
Like to me, I believe in a thing called love doesn't count because it is strictly falsetto. It is 100%
right
technique,
right,
and not necessarily force. Like there's nothing's behind it. It just kind of comes out.
Right.
Whereas I feel like being able to do Sir Duke the right way, you have to have. There's got to be some force behind it. But there's also got to be some like style behind it.
I'll give it a shot. If I can't do it, Taylor can handle it. We'll get it done. We'll get it done.
And I hate to be that guy, but like, I still feel like a song sung with a male voice in that register sounds cooler than a female singing it equivalency.
Yeah.
There's something just about the sheer effort required. I don't know.
Yeah. There is something about it being at the high end of what you can do that gives it an energy. That's certainly true.
Yeah.
I don't know. The singing
great.
I did along with my bassist on Sunday wasn't too strainy, so I don't feel like it's going to be much of a challenge. The fear for me is all those notes that happen in the middle of it.
Yeah. Like when you're doing the outro and he's doing all the runs.
Yeah.
It's not just that you have to feel it all over. You have to feel it all
over, baby. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to go all over people. Like you got to feel it all over. So it's up and it's down. And it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then a couple times you're going over. You gotta go above it.
There's a lot of moves. A lot of moves in that song.
It's dude. I love, dude. That song is amazing.
It's.
I don't know. You can't listen to that song and like be bummed. Like it's such a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're now going to start the portion of the podcast where we talk about Sir Duke for 30
It can be done. It can be done. Yeah, those opening arpeggios like dun 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 dun. It's nice. It's just nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's a lot of fun. So we're pulling out some stuff that I don't remember us playing in a while for this gig. We're pulling back out Things Can Only Get Better, Howard Jones.
Nice.
We're doing White Wedding. We're doing New Sensation, In Excess.
Love that song.
And oh man, there's like a handful of other ones that we don't normally do, like Fight for Your Right to Party and
do you
Give Love a Bad Name. Like we're
Eyes Without a Face.
We don't. We do. We've done White Wedding.
Yeah.
We do. What's the other one that's everybody does? So we do Rebel Yell. Sometimes we do Dancing with Myself is the one that we do most times.
That's a dancer. Yeah.
Mhm.
Eyes Without a Face is slower. It's not as, I wouldn't say strictly a dance number, but it's got that really great breakdown in the middle.
Eyes Without a Face.
Yeah. That big sort of almost rap breakdown in the middle of it that is you know, rock and roll and fun, and I don't know, I like that tune a lot.
I had a fun conversation with our guitar player because we were talking about Fight for Your Right to Party. And I was like, please don't learn the solo.
I can't remember
because there's like the solo on that song is not good,
isn't it?
I was like, that's the second worst guitar solo in a Beastie Boys song, which is saying a lot because the guitar solo for No Sleep Till Brooklyn is the worst guitar solo ever recorded of all time.
I'm not hip to either of those. I'm gonna have to listen to them.
Well, No Sleep Till Brooklyn was off of License to Ill, which was produced by Rick Rubin, who also produced Slayer's Rain in Blood. And so that song features a guitar solo by none other than Kerry King of Slayer. And it's horrendous. It's truly terrible.
All right. I'll check it out for the pain of it.
I will issue a social media challenge if anybody who is listening to this podcast will record themselves playing the No Sleep Till Brooklyn solo note for note and tag us in the post. I will give you something. It may not be good, but it'll be forever in my good graces.
Good graces?
Yeah.
All right.
It would take a fair amount of effort to play something that terrible. So I will give them whatever my say gets around here.
Deal.
You might get a free small fry out of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's to say? So yeah, the prospect of I've been kind of in a funk. I've not been I've not been shy about that in the past few episodes. Did reach out, got an appointment with the counselor to kind of talk through some of that, but also a lot of, I think the weight of it has lifted a little bit.
Good.
And I am actually looking forward to this thing on Saturday, provided my voice doesn't give out. I'm looking forward to the potential being just a guitar playing singer and just hanging out. So
excellent.
That should be fun.
Yeah.
So I think we're all caught up.
Cool.
As far as other housekeeping things go, I am taking a break from the YouTube videos this week on account of my laptop failing. I replaced the laptop, but I'm using that as an excuse to give myself some margin.
You know, you got to breathe sometimes. So, it's fine.
I do. And I haven't skipped a week really since December, where I went to New York, and it's been a pretty solid slog ever since. So
yeah, you've been putting them out solid, and you're the one who set that weekly standard for yourself, and you've been keeping it pretty reliably. And I think that you have every right to say that this week's an exception. I think that's fine.
And I'm also starting to toy with the idea of putting more content on my personal channel. I think some people were kind of like weirded out by the social media component of the video last week. Because like, well, what does this have to do with being in a cover band? And I was like, well, it kind of does and it kind of doesn't. But like, maybe I need to start posting like more of that focused stuff on a separate channel, so we're not crossing the streams too much.
Yeah.
And then it would just be a less frequent situation.
Sure.
So, anyway.
Sure.
All right. So let's talk about, once again, we don't get this opportunity, but this is a way for us to talk about current events and news while also completing a circle of a story that we had told in past episodes.
That's right.
So there were reports a while ago about Smash Mouth and their lead singer Steve not doing so well, making live performances and things just not going well for them. Definitely some substance issues there, but also apparently like a very serious health issue. And he was basically like, I can't pretend like I can still do this anymore, so I'm not going to. So he retired. So there is no more the guy from Smash Mouth. He is he's pursuing now other things.
Formerly from Smash Mouth.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now the joke was, I was like, well, Dan, here's your chance to be the new singer of Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
And it turns out that a member of our community is connected to the guy who actually got the gig. And guess what? He plays in a cover band.
Yeah. How about that?
How about that? So I did want to call out Jeff Miller. Jeff has a band called Black Crystal Wolf Kids, and they're out in LA. They're doing kind of like indie pop covers.
Huh.
So like early to mid aughts, but more on like the indie side. Thinking like
Fun.
your Modest Mouses and your
Fun
and that kind of thing. And he happens to know the guy who got the gig, and his name is Zachary Good. And he's another LA based guy who apparently is a voice actor primarily, and is a member of a Weezer / Beastie Boys tribute called Geezer.
Nice.
Amongst other projects. He's done other things. He's got a couple of original projects. There's one like Divided by Zero and a couple of other ones. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that if you are a band of guys in your, let's say 40s to 60s, and you're looking for a new person, that pool of people is not big.
Yeah.
And so the only pool that you really have are guys who are seasoned in working. And those guys are us.
Yep.
And so it's interesting to think about, but I'm still trying to get this. I've been trying to work on this interview lineup for almost 2 years now at this point. But my buddy Rob Hammersmith plays drums for Skid Row. He didn't start playing drums for Skid Row. He played in dirtbag rock and roll bands, and that's how I met him.
Yep.
But now he plays in Skid Row, and that's that.
Yeah.
And it was just because he was around the right age and, was working.
Had the chops, was in the right place at the right time.
Had the right look, had the right demeanor, and you get to be in Skid Row.
Yeah.
That's the story. So, they also released a single. I think they did a remake of Never Gonna Give You Up. Sounds pretty good. I know people are mad and they're like, the thing that really bumps me out is that people are like, get the other guy back. I'm like, the other guy can't come back.
Yeah.
The alternative to new singer of Smash Mouth is no more Smash Mouth.
Right.
We had that conversation with my buddy Neil Patterson, who was formerly the singer of Reagan Youth. And they're like, people calling him a scab and calling him a poser or a LARPer. I was like, he's like, the guy who I replaced is dead.
Yeah.
It's either a bunch of guys who are replacements or nothing.
Yeah.
So,
listen, there are diehard fans out there who would prefer nothing.
That's true. And that is its own toxic situation as well.
Yeah.
But let's be happy for people.
Let's be happy for people.
Abundance mindset.
Let's celebrate new music, even if it's not the old music.
Yeah. Even though in this particular case, it is old music.
It is the old music. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to do our Tears for Fears block.
Okay. Speaking of old music that's now new, Tears for Fears is back.
Geez. They are in fact back.
Yeah.
I saw them on CBS Sunday Morning. They are back.
Yeah. Did you see the interview?
I did.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
Interview.
It was a good interview. And I liked the way they were like, yeah, we didn't talk. And then we realized we needed to talk. It was that simple. It was that simple.
Hey man, hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way.
It's true. Yeah. That's not from them. Anyone who's wondering.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I've seen some videos of them doing covers of their old stuff. And it's good. It's as good as the original.
I will say this, there is something about bands that like went away and then came back. They sound better than the ones that never stopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's mostly because they had time to like not wear themselves out.
Also, I wonder
it's amazing how less tired your voice sounds.
As I have played, there have been several times in my cover artist career where I have listened to a song that I've covered for a long time and heard a bunch of stuff that I don't do and been surprised. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, that happens in the original. I haven't been doing that at all. Like, and the song in my brain has evolved to be the thing that I do and not what's on the recording. Right. So I wonder how much of that is like, if you play the same song and it's your song, but you played it every night for 50 years, how much it has diverged from the original recording that you may not even be aware of. Hopefully you have an MD who's helping you with that stuff. But versus like Tears for Fears had to relearn their things. Like that.
For sure.
They, you know, if they still, it took me so long to figure out all the moves that happen in Everybody Wants to Rule the World. All the irregular, you know, lead breaks that are half a chorus and, you know, weird stuff that happens in that. I'm sure they had to like shed that again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they'd be true to themselves, their 30 years ago selves, in a way that they may not be if they had just been touring this whole time.
Yeah. Well, and also another note is like the members of the band that are performing as Tears for Fears are also younger guys.
That's right. No, it's the two dudes. It's the two dudes, and then they've got hired guns.
But again, that's just another one of those things to be aware of, is that like they have to source those people from somewhere.
That's right. Could be you.
And it could be. It very well could be.
Yep. Yep.
So,
I know the lead line
about.
on Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I could be that guitarist standing there playing it.
If you are one of the like 7 drummers who can play that pattern,
that's right. That's right.
You could do that.
Yeah. It's the way that they that soft open hat thing that happens. There's a rhythm that happens on the hat that I've just never heard anybody quite replicate.
Yeah. So the pattern is a shuffle with the feet and the snare.
Yeah.
So you're getting a gung 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 ga gung 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 ga.
Yeah.
And the hi-hat pattern is dot 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 opposed to that.
Right.
They don't line up.
Right.
But
isn't it also, the hat's also going like, there's like a open close
you're
pattern
doing that, but it's also
too.
But it's also it's also the rhythm on it is also difficult.
Yeah. It's a hell of a groove. It's really something.
It's a beautiful song.
It was programmed. I mean, it wasn't played live on the recording. It was computer drums.
Right.
So
Lynn drum probably.
Yeah. Anyway, it's great to have those guys back. It's very cool. Have you ever, so the song of theirs that I discovered late, not contemporaneous with it coming out, because I was already way down my classic rock rabbit hole of the super late 80s and early 90s.
Are you about to say Mad World?
No, I knew that one and I loved it. No, it's Sowing the Seeds of Love, which is glorious. Just a glorious piece of work and such a tribute to the Beatles. Like it's pure Beatles tribute the whole way through. They're like, it essentially name checks like 4 Beatles tunes. There's a trumpet solo, just like Penny Lane. Like it's really something. And so, I played it for my band last week cause I've been back in Tears for Fears land this week. And actually none of them, because they're back. And, my drummer, who's my age, I'd set Sowing the Seeds of Love, and he was like, oh, yeah, da, 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 da. It's like, yeah, that's the one. But my fellow singer and my bassist, who were both like early 20s, had never heard of it. And I put it on, and we played through it a little bit, and we might do a stripped down cover of it. But the question is if a stripped down cover of that song does it any justice. It's like full symphonic, full horns. It's like massive, and yeah, it's just a great tune. I'd love to be able to cover it, and I don't think I have the budget. So,
well,
we'll see.
You know, and again, we have those songs that like we want them for ourselves, but it's like,
that's right.
Is this answering a question that anybody is asking?
Right. Yeah.
You know,
and are you going to use one of your 3 slots in the night where you can just indulge on that?
Right.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe. Yeah.
So, talking about like answering questions that people haven't asked, our buddy Eric, who is the Kurt in the Nirvana tribute, Nevermind,
right,
has hung that up. I think at his age and the strain it was on his voice, I think he was ready to just kind of be done with it. So he has now started a Bryan Adams tribute called Reckless.
Okay.
And I was like, huh. But then you look at his catalog and you're like, oh. So this is like, to me, that feels like a Henry Ford kind of scenario. Like people, we've been sitting around asking for faster horses, and he's like, no, here it is.
Yeah.
But when he announced it, I was like, oh man, now I've got to start my Satisfied, a tribute to Richard Marx tribute. And then we could do a package tour.
That's right. Yeah. You've always wanted to do
have
that.
to get that curly mullet.
Yeah.
We'd have to do it right.
Yeah. I wonder if there's any way to do a Kenny G tribute.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you could just probably get Kenny G.
I wonder what he's up to. Touring.
I appreciate the fact he
fairs.
shows up and stuff. He shows up in like pop culture.
Yeah.
Like he's very much in on the I'm Kenny G joke.
Yeah. I always appreciate when a sort of nostalgia act can wink at themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Billy Idol showing up in what was it? He showed up in
Wedding Singer.
Wedding Singer. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for everybody. Abundance mindset. Just because this guy got the gig in Smash Mouth doesn't mean you can't get a gig in Smash Mouth too.
That's right. Just because Tears for Fears hung it up for 20 years doesn't mean you can't hang it up for 20 years and then come back and rock the house again.
Absolutely. So you know who's not going to hang it up right now?
Us.
You and me.
That's right.
Because you know why?
It's the big 200.
200 episodes.
Big 200.
For sure. And every once in a while, I'll put episode 1 on, which is really more like episode 0.
Yeah.
And the difference of everything is just astounding.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the production values alone just were we didn't have it figured out.
I don't think it necessarily sounds bad per se, but like it's just a number of things. First off, when we started doing this, I was doing it like in our like on our main floor in like the middle of like this open room. So I was like intentionally trying to be quiet. So like my voice is 100% different. It's like, hey everybody, this is the Cover Band Confidential podcast, and my name is like, it's like my voice is lower, and there's some sort of affectation I'm trying to put on it,
right?
That I eventually just gave up on.
Are you doing it like an NPR speaker?
I don't think that was necessarily what I was going for, but it definitely came across like I was trying to be quiet, but also trying to be more serious than I actually am.
Right.
So,
I do think that in our first few episodes, we sort of established the thesis of what we're up to here. Mm-hmm. I certainly feel like by the time we hit episode 6, 7, 8, we'd sort of said, there was a moment in like around then when we looked at each other like, well, we've done it. We've like that's the podcast. There's nothing.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, we've said the stuff. And then we figured that we needed to just keep finding more stuff to say, which we have accomplished now for 200 episodes.
And I would also like to note that 50 of those episodes were literally like no content.
Yeah.
Like we were just making stuff up.
Yeah. We had nothing to talk about. I mean, and that was what there was to talk about, was that there was nothing going on. But
right.
Yeah, it was a crummy time to have a podcast about like being out in the world doing things with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who had started the podcast about sitting in their basements doing nothing were like, finally.
Really? It's our moment.
Relatable content at last.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's been such an interesting journey, because when I started it, when I even started the blog, it was like, I just feel like nobody's talking to me, so I'll talk to me.
Yeah.
I talk to myself all the time. What's the difference?
Right.
And slowly but surely other people started paying attention to it. And it was just this weird kind of happenstance. Maybe it's not happenstance, it's all about how you think about things. But our paths crossed, and you did a guest article or two.
Yep.
And then when it was like, it became pretty clear that like I wanted to talk. I thought a podcast was a good idea, but I was like, there's no way that I could be interesting or structured enough to do something by myself.
Right.
It would be super time consuming and meandery, and I wouldn't be able to get my point across. And it was just, again, pure luck, if you want to call it, or, just ignorance and arrogance on our end to think that we could actually do it.
Yeah.
We just started. And if you want to know the secret to getting to 200 episodes on a podcast, it's really simple.
Yeah.
You just don't stop doing it.
Yeah, just make 200 episodes. That's how you get there.
Yeah. In the face of technical issues, experience, subject matter, you just ignore all of those things.
Global pandemics, vacations. Yeah. We have not missed a week in, I don't even know how long.
I don't think a week has gone by. Maybe one.
Maybe early on.
Yeah, potentially. But, I think we've now gotten to a point where it's like, hey, I'm not going to be here. Let's do X, Y, and Z.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to be out in 2 weeks. Figure something out. All right. No problem. And we can now. We have, a community to draw from, and, it's not a problem.
Yeah. And for the future, we've got lots of plans. We want to talk to as many people as we can. I would, interviews were something that we were able to do and then kind of stop doing just for a myriad of reasons, mostly logistical. But we want to get back into doing that a bit more. And I've got a bunch of feelers out, and it's just a matter of kind of hammering some things down so that we can do that. And
listen, we've had some great interviews. Jennifer Batten was an amazing interview.
That's still like one of those. Every once in a while, I get like something that pops up on my feed, and I was like, "Holy shit, that happened!"
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And now, because like I'm Facebook friends with Jennifer Batten. I know. She's like posted.
Yeah, it's great.
It's wild.
Yeah,
but it's opened up a ton of doors. This whole thing with Killcliff was because of the content stuff I was putting out. I got hooked up with Mike Squires of Couch Riffs, and we've got something on the in the pipeline coming up with that. And I just met like a bunch of amazing people. It's been super cool to connect with people from all over the world. I don't know if I even talked about this on an episode, but one morning I came down to check on something, and I had a voice memo on Facebook from a person I didn't know. And it was a guy from New Zealand who had sent me a voice memo asking some advice about a personnel issue he was having with his drummer. And so that day I talked with this guy back and forth via voice memo, which I don't normally use. I don't know, probably like 15, 20 times, like literally on the other side of the planet in real time.
Cool.
And it kind of helped him navigate like a tough situation that he was going through in his group.
Awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And, the last thing that has really like made a big difference for me personally was finally getting serious about Patreon and putting the Slack channel together, and just having like a community of just like-minded folks has just been amazing.
Yeah. Speaking of,
and well, I mean, ultimately, I'll land the plane
we'll get back
real
to
quick.
it. Yeah.
I think ultimately the thing that has made doing this podcast worthwhile is you.
Yes.
Everybody who is listening to this. I didn't have any like aspirations or expectations on what could happen, but what did happen is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And incredibly humbling, and it's been awesome to be able to have like real conversations with people who are just like you are in similar seasons of life. Just kind of like building community. And I talk to the people in this community more than probably anybody else. And it's cool. I get to hang out in the biggest green room on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's pretty awesome.
It's very awesome. And I think one of the things that I've learned is that we're all here in this community, we're all going through the same thing. We're all going through, none of our struggles, despite what might be different about our own scenes and our own cities and our own everything, we all deal with the same personnel issue with that drummer. We deal with the same, like, what songs am I going to play this weekend? We deal with the same, like, how do I compete in a market that's oversaturated with classic rock bands? We, all that same stuff is happening literally all over the world. And it's just so cool to be part of the conversation, to confront that and think about it and move through it, and how am I going to deal with it, and come up with business models that are about rising above that. Mm-hmm. So great. So great. Such an honor. And I've spent the last 200 weeks, really, really, really privileged that you reached out to me to be part of it. I was really, delighted to be here and be your partner and be in this with everybody. It's been a complete joy over the last 200 weeks. Absolutely.
And the reality is that this community is tight, and it is,
mm-hmm.
Everybody's like-minded stuff, but the reality is that this community could be so much bigger.
Yeah.
Because the reality is there are us's in every city in the country, on the continent,
yeah,
around the world.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time that we can, reach out to them, connect with them, and get whatever we've been saying for, the past 3 some odd years out and about to them. And that prospect is exciting.
Yeah.
In all the different ways that we can do that. I'd love to get more into, as far as like online content, doing like gear reviews and stuff, because again, we are the target demo.
That's right.
For all of these companies.
Yeah.
We're the ones buying the guitars. We're the ones buying the pedals. We're the ones using their stuff. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And then like being able to partner with big companies and give away things and do the stuff that big boy podcasts get to do. That's definitely what I aspire to now. So
and listen, the growth of our numbers over the last year put us in big boy territory. We're not,
yep.
Joe Rogan, but we're not nothing.
Yep.
First few episodes, we had a joke about like, hello, greetings to our listener. But that joke doesn't work anymore. We actually have listeners.
Yeah.
It's really clear that we do.
Yeah. So the amazing thing is like, yeah, you can look at the numbers, and in 2020, during the world shutdown.
Yep.
And
you would think even people stuck at home, they're going to listen to podcasts. They didn't. Podcast listenership was way down that year across the board.
So yeah, end of 2020, we hit just over 30,000 listens to the podcast for that year. 2021, we increased that by over 50%, 46,763 to be exact. And looking at the monthly numbers, the past 2 months in 2022 have already surpassed the highest months we've had in January and February ever.
Yeah.
So we are now, we were catching a pretty solid stride before the world shut down. It kind of halted all of our growth, but now we are back on the upper trajectory. So I think it's just a matter of time, and we have you guys to thank for it. You've been loyal to listen and to share what you know with the community, and to share what we've taught you to other musicians in your area, and recommended us and done all of the things that you've done. So, I mean, ultimately, this doesn't happen without you guys.
That's right. I heard a funny thing. I was listening to a podcast I really love called The Memory Palace by Nate DeMeo. I don't know if you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Strong recommend.
I'm not.
It's really, really good. Little short episodes that are about quirky moments in American history, and it's told in this really beautiful way. And in one episode, he said, "You know what? I know that you think the things you love everybody just knows about, but I'm here to tell you they don't. So here's what I'd like you to do. Take your mom's phone, take your friend's phone, just borrow their phone, subscribe them to my podcast." I was like, that's pretty aggressive. I like it. Here's an idea. Take your bassist phone, sign him up for this podcast.
Yeah. Don't have your mom subscribe.
Don't have your mom subscribe unless she's in a cover band. God bless.
Unless she's in a band.
Yeah. Yeah. But listen, it matters to your band that you're all in the same conversation and you're all on the same page. Mm-hmm. And, I think it would make a difference if you had your people all listening to the conversation that you're part of about the purpose and the direction and the way of doing this stuff. So,
yeah,
I'm not saying steal people's phones and do things to them behind their backs, but sharing this podcast with the people who are in it with you might make a difference to what you're up to.
And also, I hope that what we have built up to this point is inspiring, because we still don't know what we're doing.
That's right. That's right.
This was just a thing that we started, and we just were stubborn enough to not stop doing it.
Yeah. And the only reason that we're experts is because we say we are.
Yep. And, our own real life experiences. Hopefully you've learned from our failures.
We've done it enough that we can talk about the good and the bad of it.
For sure.
And then we made a podcast and suddenly we're experts.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is exactly how that works. And if it's something that if you think you could do a podcast, it's very easy to figure out what it should be about.
Yeah.
The way that I always describe it is that if you want to start a podcast and you don't know what to pick, think of a topic that someone would regret asking you about at a party. That's what your podcast should be about.
Yeah. I can do a hot 300 episodes on that. No problem. Yeah.
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 So yeah, if there's anything in your brain that you feel compelled to talk about, that would be how you would start your own journey in this process.
Oh my God. This tells me that I need to start a podcast about gossip in the real estate tech business. Oh my God.
Oh, dude.
There are actually,
not for nothing,
there are actually 2 podcasts about that already that I listened to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But and that was the other thing, is that we were like, well, I feel like there's a space for us. Maybe that niche has been filled already.
Let's hope.
At least in your world.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to commemorate this special occasion, some of our listeners wanted to share what they felt and what they've gotten out of the podcast. So wanted to give all of them an opportunity to do so. So here are some anecdotes from our listener base and what it is they love the most about the show.
Hey guys, this is Michael with Diamond Avenue out here in Northwest Iowa. I just wanted to say how much I enjoy and appreciate the podcast. I started listening in the fall of 2021 during harvest, and I'd find myself sometimes spending entire days listening to the back catalog of episodes. As someone who just kind of started playing in front of an audience here within the past 10 or 12 months or so, it's been really interesting to hear from the perspective of folks who not only have quite a bit more experience than I do, but also a wealth of knowledge in a wide range of topics that you don't necessarily think about when you first start putting a band together. From setlist flow to social media management and everything in between, the podcast definitely got us a lot more organized and kind of allowed us to approach our jam sessions with plenty of purpose to go along with the fun we're already having. But probably the biggest positive impact that I've taken away from the podcast, it's got to be the mental approach that goes beyond musicianship. And this is where I absolutely have to plug the Slack channel and the Patreon benefits. I'm by no means a seasoned pro, and the nerves tend to eat me up quite a bit, and not just on stage either. To me, sometimes approaching a venue can be just as daunting as playing at one. But the guys on that Slack channel are so supportive of one another and help so much, and I think everyone helps each other a lot more than anyone wants to probably give themselves credit for. So thank you to Adam, Dan, all the guys on that Slack channel, anyone who's played any kind of a part in putting this podcast together. I really think it is such a positive force here in the world of cover bands. So thanks again to everyone. I'll see you guys on stage. Rock on.
Hello, this is Dennis Padgett with Smokin Gunn Band out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm part of the Patreon group and the Slack channel discussion, and in my opinion, it's worth the monthly contribution. Congratulations, Dan and Adam. Your 200th show on Cover Band Confidential podcast is here, and I can tell you that this podcast has really expanded and expedited my growth and knowledge as a band leader. For me, the content on how to market the band or set up and going to in-ear monitors, and just the overall advice that I get on how to handle the situations we find ourselves in as a performing cover band has really helped me. I can say for sure, we rock more, suck less, our bookings are up, and we're a better band overall because of this podcast. Thank you, Dan and Adam.
What's up, everyone? My name is John from the band Level Up, hailing from the great state of New Jersey, gigging up and down the Jersey Turnpike from Philly to New York City to the Jersey Shore and everything in between. I'm so excited for Adam and Dan from Cover Band Confidential. Congratulations on 200 episodes. I've been a listener for a couple years now. I'm a member of the Patreon as well, and I can't speak highly enough of the guys in this community. And I wanted to just spend a minute telling my band's story because this podcast was such a big part of our startup and continues to be a part of our growth even today. I started tuning into the podcast when I started Level Up in the summer of 2020, and it was definitely a new frontier for me. Starting a cover band really early on in the pandemic and literally from scratch. All the other bands I had been a part of in the past, I pulled together, including at least one or two of my existing friend groups and, just getting together to jam at first and then building that into a band. So to build something from scratch and in the middle of a pandemic was a little daunting. I remember wondering if anyone was even going to respond to my Craigslist ad, given that people really weren't doing anything indoors in the New York City area. And we were just getting crushed with COVID cases and hospitalizations. So needless to say, it was a weird time to be starting a party rock cover band. But I just had the itch and needed to get something started to fuel my creative side like a lot of the listeners here on this podcast. But I needed help. And some friends of mine recommended me listening to Cover Band Confidential podcast. Before I knew it, I was hooked. There was so much information and such a wide range of topics. We've leaned into Cover Band Confidential to learn more about gear, dealing with personnel, marketing best practices, and just so much more. We've even taken Adam up on an opportunity to receive some virtual one-on-one coaching specific to the gear that we purchased based on his band's rig that he talks about on the podcast. And if you fast forward to today, I'm a Patreon subscriber, as I mentioned, and couldn't recommend that enough. Just imagine the Cover Band Confidential Facebook group or any other national Facebook group for cover bands you may be a part of today. But instead of constant bickering about cargo shorts and iPads, it's motivated band members from across the country all willing to share actual good information and help each other out. So let me just end my testimonial with this. You're already listening to the podcast if you're hearing this. That's great. Start incorporating what these guys talk about because it works. Maybe not all of it is specifically relevant to you, but I promise you could definitely take something from the podcast. And if you do, you should strongly consider the Patreon. It's just one day a month sacrificing that $5 cup of coffee that I know you guys get at Starbucks out there. Sign up for the Patreon and start to really take advantage of what the Cover Band Confidential community has to offer. Adam and Dan, congratulations again on 200 episodes. Me and my band Level Up are thrilled to be a part of the ride, and we can't wait until we're doing this again at episode 300. Cheers, everybody.
There you go.
That was really damn good.
It's really damn good, John.
Talking about the guys with Level Up, I did get to do. I did a Zoom call with all of them, the entire group.
Nice.
As they're like putting together their X32 in-ear kind of rack setup and stuff, and we went back and forth, and I was able to send them some things, and they played their first show with it, and it worked pretty good for them. And then maybe 3 weeks later, they got this opportunity to play at the Hard Rock in New York City and booked an $8,000 show.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So I don't get to take, credit for that, but hopefully some of the stuff that they were able to glean from our ramblings helped them
totally
get in the right rooms and get the opportunities to make that kind of money. So
right.
It's good stuff.
Indeed.
It was funny when I was up in New York, I was literally at JFK about to board my flight, and John was like, "Hey man, you want to get on the list tonight down in New York?"
Like, yes.
We got a gig. I was like, I can't. I'm literally leaving right now.
I want to, but I can't. Yeah.
I will hey, if all the things that we've been talking about happen, that is a very good possibility.
For sure.
There's this
for sure.
wild TV or web series concept that we have been throwing back and forth, and getting to do that would be pretty cool.
That'd be amazing.
I am humbled by everybody's kind words, and that we've been helpful at all in some cases.
It's amazing.
So once again, thank you guys so much.
And Adam, listen, to you, my friend, 200 episodes.
200 episodes, man.
Yeah. Here we are.
Sir.
There you go. Well
Clink.
Done. Clink.
It's been good.
Mm-hmm.
Easily one of the coolest things that I've ever gotten to be a part of. And the fact that I kind of helped make it makes it all the more sweeter.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, then I say we called it that.
Sounds good.
No tears shed, no awkward.
No more awkward than
hugs,
usual, at least.
You know? Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much. Again, this has been the opportunity of a lifetime to get to talk to all of you and to interact with you any way that I can. And if you haven't ever reached out, I highly encourage you to do so. Email us, coverbandconfidential@gmail.com, on any of the social platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is that you prefer. We are out there and we are shockingly accessible. So don't hesitate to reach out. But that'll do it for this week and for the other 200 episodes. So thanks again for tuning in. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
Looking forward to the next 200 here in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm Dan Ray.
You have been listening to the Cover Band Confidential podcast for the week of March 4th, 2022. Have a great week.